John starting off this podcast by being a negative Nancy. He's made me redo the intro already once. So.
Well, it's not my fault.
Yeah, my phone's dead. I don't have anything to say. I've got no data over here. It's a suffering place. What can we do? I feel like I'm addicted to my cell phone. Do you feel like you're addicted to your cell phone, Jonathan?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. I'm happy to put it away. I just need it to operate in just the way that we're doing life right now. Just feels like it's a necessity to be able to have it to operate. That's all.
I would love to have like unlimited battery on my cell phone. Like,
Well, I have negative battery right now.
we're both suffering with like, I just have to plug and play all day. Just plug
I
it
do have a lot
in.
of friends online that are like getting off of Instagram and Facebook. Like friends that are actually friends, but like also friends on social media.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, I'm leaving. If you want to find me, you know where to get a hold of me." I'm like, "Whoa, okay."
You're like, do I? I think I only know you by Facebook Messenger. I don't actually know your cell phone number.
I guess because we're just in a space where like we're trying to create content for business, like with a purpose.
Yeah.
Like I guess it's been like 3 years since I've looked at content as a time wasting thing. Like,
Yeah.
the last few years have been, every time I watch a video, I'm just in the mindset of like, hey, what made me stop on this video? Like, why do I like this? How could I recreate this? And even more so now than ever before, I'm in that mindset.
You're like mind numbing, like thing that should give you like a zone out. Like I'm just gonna scroll is now turned into like a business thing that you can't get away from. Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay,
Kind of, I guess.
but like speaking of like social media and things like that, we met like the most beautiful man
Whoa.
this week.
What? Oh, me.
Was,
Oh, yeah.
you met him. I like know this gentleman. He works for RB Patel. He's one of their bulk buy managers. I don't know what you call him. He buys in bulk and sells in bulk, and he is such a nice guy. I've known him for 3 years now.
He's the guy that manages. It's a big grocery store chain in Fiji, and he's the guy that manages, like it's a huge grocery store, and so smaller stores around the islands buy from them. So he manages like stores that buy from his store.
Yeah.
Not just like grocery, like us coming in to buy like a few bags of groceries.
And I met him 3 years ago, honestly, because I had to use the toilet. It's when we used to come here.
Such a nice toilet.
It is a nice toilet in Mombasa. Like for the last like 12 years, we've been coming to Fiji every few years. The toilet I knew to use in Mombasa was the RB Patel manager's toilet upstairs. My mother-in-law.
That's the manager's
your
toilet?
mother. Well, I don't know. It's like the staff toilet. Your
Is
mom and I.
Dude, I go in there every time. I'm just gonna use the washroom.
Oh,
like,
it's not for the public.
No.
And no, it's not. You're just abusing a privilege.
Serious?
You're just like going in there
I
like.
didn't actually know this.
No, your mom showed me where this toilet was, because we'd be grocery shopping. We always shopped there in Mombasa, and I'd be like, okay, well, like we've been here all day. Like obviously we need to use the facilities, and your mom would be like, oh, we'll just go upstairs. And so I just kind of got to know like this is where I have to use the bathroom in
don't
Mombasa.
Give away the location.
Yeah, it's like a Mombasa secret. You guys don't know. It's like the cleanest toilet in the city.
It's not upstairs. Okay.
So for at least 2 years, I haven't used it too much in the last year because I realized there's like a pay for public bathroom.
Oh yeah.
But for the first 2 years we lived here,
fancy.
that's like the only place I'd ever go. So me and this manager became friends because I'd always go use their facilities, and he was always up there with this other lovely lady, and we'd always chit chat. He's been really helpful with like buying supplies for our coffee shop, and just been like the most like customer service orientated person I've met so far in Fiji, and lovely. Like just every interaction has been so great. So this last week we were in Mombasa. We went up to a different area of their store that kind of has like their miscellaneous stuff, and he was up there surprisingly. And so I was excited to see him. I hadn't seen him in a while.
So he's not usually up in that zone?
He's normally up in like the main, in the back.
Oh.
So I was excited to see him, and he was telling us he's getting a promotion, which I think is well deserved. But that means he has to move to Levu, which is the main island of Fiji.
I don't know if it's a promotion. Like, no? I don't think so. It sounded like he was he had no choice to move. Like when he was
Yeah.
that emotional, like it was. It didn't sound like it was told to him this way, but it sounded like it was like move or like you don't really have a job because he broke down in tears in front of us,
Yeah, who's crying?
and he's like, it's gonna be hard because he owns property on this island on which they have a fully operational store, like his own
Which
small store.
he has bought for his children or
Yeah,
his son to grow into a
and
business.
his dad is old and paralyzed, and he looks after his dad, and his
I
mom
know.
and or his wife and son live like 2 hours down the road looking after this property in the store, and he's gonna have to move to the other island. And yeah, like we got there, and he was. Well, what triggered the question, or what triggered like the emotion? Like, how are you doing?
Well, yeah, I said, "How are you doing?" And how you been or something. He said, "Oh, good. Like I'm moving to Nandi or
To
something,
Suva,
Suva soon." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Like what's
and
going
he's instantly
on?"
just like,
He's instantly emotional, which is very rare in
I
Fiji.
never, I've honestly never actually seen that before.
And
I
that's
could
why
cry
I'm
now.
like, "Oh, what a nice
He
man."
just
Like,
broke down. He grabbed his handkerchief and he was just like sobbing into his handkerchief. And all his staff were like standing around just watching him like break down.
I know.
And so yeah, so it was actually like it was such a special moment because I felt like I rarely, other than at funerals, I was at a funeral today or a memorial service that we were streaming a live funeral from New Zealand, and it was like other than like those moments, like you rarely see raw emotion outside of death.
Yeah.
Not in Fiji, in the world. So to be in a grocery store, and I guess the contrast is so much more pronounced because
You're in a grocery
yeah, you're in
store.
a grocery store, like we're walking around looking at like containers for vegetables and stuff like that. And then you talk to a guy and he just starts crying, and all his staff are there. It was just like, what is I wasn't thinking about it like this, but I think my brain is like, what is happening right now?
Hmm.
And I was like, because it was such a random thing to happen, I was like, oh, my eyes were like welling up with tears, and I'm like,
Oh, I know. And he was so cute. And I was kind of like,
he's,
I wanted to make it into a positive conversation,
mm,
not a negative one, because I didn't want to take him down into like, I don't know how he's feeling. I wanted to make it like a positive thing
mm,
that we could encourage him in. But it's kind of hard to know all the context of the situation. And Fiji has an interesting kind of, I guess, method of employment and retirement. What age is retirement here?
you're asking the wrong guy, and you're talking about the public sector, like public sector people who work for like roads in the health Ministry of Health, these kinds of things, like they all have like a mandatory like retirement age.
It's like 50,
It's like
55.
55,
I think so. Yeah.
but not for private sector.
We could be wrong, but I think that's maybe what they're basing it off of. He's not like young by any means. He's not in his 30s or even early 40s. So I feel like sometimes people kind of get, "Oh, like your retirement age, like time to move you on." Right? But like for when I look at that, like we have an uncle in the village and he is a fireman, and they tried to retire him a couple years ago. But I'm like, dude, this guy's in his prime. He
Yeah, like
is
he's literally been
trained.
trained all up.
He's good at his
He's
job.
good at his
He's
job.
done it for years. He's knowledgeable. He's consistent. He shows up for work on time. He's made it the test of time. He's not ready yet. Like, give him
He
it.
doesn't want to be ready yet.
No, he's not ready. He's like ready to go. Like, give him at least to
It's honestly
65.
guys like this gentleman in the store. He's been there for 26 years. And
Crazy.
it's people like that. Like I got home and I actually legitimately thought like, how can we give him a job
I
so
know.
he can stay and look after his dad,
Yeah,
who's like obviously totally paralyzed in a wheelchair.
I
He
know.
has property, like the funny thing about this thought is that he's actually doing better than we are.
I love
Like,
it. I love it.
he has property. He's like a manager of like a big chain
I
store,
love it.
and then I'm like, how do I employ this gentleman?
No, but
Like,
it's
Jonathan, you do not employ this gentleman. This gentleman employs you. But I was like, I don't know. I thought in that moment, I'm like, I need to get to the point in life where I meet somebody like that, and I'm like, dude, you don't have to leave your family. Like, you have like, you have a job with me.
Yeah.
You know, like I wanted in that moment to say something like that, because it just feels like it feels weird, and I get it. Like, you know, you start running a corporation the size of that grocery chain, and it's like you can't look after everybody. But like when you have somebody who's been there for 26 years, it's just such a weird concept to me that you get 26 years into your tenure, and then a company's like, "Hey, this is what we're gonna do with you, despite all that you've done, all the years, and stuff like that." And it's like, man, I really need to think about it, because I don't want to. I don't want to be the person that does that to an employee who has tenure of like, you know, a quarter century,
But
and then be
I
like,
think
"Peace,
that
move on."
happens all over the world. Like I
Of
know
course,
my uncle, he was working and has ran now a big company, but he was working for a paper supply company that supplies like big cruise ships and toilet paper to everybody in the country and cleaning supplies and all this stuff. And when he wanted a promotion in that country,
country.
or sorry, in that company, they said, you have to move to Toronto, which from where he was based in Vancouver is the other side of the country. And in Canada, that's a long ways.
Right,
And he said, no, thank you to that promotion.
right,
And then he actually just started his own company
yeah.
because he had the knowledge and, you know, the wherewithal to do that. Obviously, I don't know the logistics of how he started it, but I'm like, wow, like it's hard when you're trying to move up the corporate ladder and they demand so much of you and the inconvenience for your family. We actually put out a video today that was talking about if you need to move, make a big move for your family, or you know, move to a new country.
We boiled the
or,
video down to like, hey, so you want to move overseas, but you got young kids.
yeah,
But it could really be, and we're making this switch actually as a company and as a family in the way that we, you know, produce our content on social media, so that, because I feel like our story actually, we have the potential for a lot more people to identify with our story if we pursue the angle of like, hey, life requires you to make big changes. Don't be a person that doesn't do the things and get to the end of your life and wonder, like, what would happen if I would have done the things? Like, I feel like everybody has to make big decisions, whether it's career, whether it's relationship, whether it's, you know, with your friends or whatever that is. You always have to make big decisions in life. And so to, you know, to have the guts to make them, those are the people that we identify with.
yeah. And I think like some people are like, oh, I don't know. There's like saying like, oh, are you a mover and shaker? Like, are you making big moves and doing things, or are you just kind of like a steady person?
Mm.
Like we have friends that talk about business or talk about big moves or talk about whatever, and it's hard to make them jump in there because it's scary. Like you have a 9 to 5 job, you have a paycheck, you have rest after 5,
Mm-hmm.
at least overseas. And I think like when you jump into your own business, it's never ending. It's stressful. It can be something that you're your own worst boss. And moving overseas is even maybe more stressful. It's a whole new culture. It's a whole new way of doing things. It's all new food, all new groceries. It's all new way of even paying for your groceries. Everything can be a challenge. And we have people constantly messaging us. I've had at least 3 messages in the last 2 days just asking questions about moving to Fiji and immigration stuff and blah, blah, blah. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a challenge for people, and you know, different countries demand different things. I'm following a lady right now that has moved her family to Mexico on social media, and the interesting thing there is that if you buy land there, if you die, it does not get passed down to your kids.
Well,
So
that was a long time ago.
that's still in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents own land in Mexico right now. They have a mission center and a Bible school, and if my father dies, that land goes back to the government. And he
Oh.
actually tried to hand it over to the church there, but you had to spend about, I think, $10,000 to change the title. So he sent the $10,000, and then unfortunately someone in the congregation, in the church membership, stole that $10,000.
Mm.
It was just too tempting. Like the wages are really low there. I think they saw the $10,000 and kind of went like, oh, like it's too much money.
Mm.
So like my parents are not rich people. We've always, I grew up in a really, my parents always had enough for us. We definitely didn't have anything
Stephanie got a car for her
excessive.
15th birthday.
You're right. You're right. Anyway, we'd be kind of like, if we were in Fiji, we'd be the equivalent of like, I don't know, what's like a poor food in Fiji? Like, I think
Okay, we're not going down this road.
I am. I've heard in the village, people are like, oh, if you eat popo curry, which by the way is delicious. What's wrong with everybody? That's like the poor Fijian food. And I'm like, you're wrong. It's actually excellent. And in my family, we had pasta, like, I don't know, every like couple meals, I feel like. And I love pasta, so don't get me wrong. It was delicious. And I had the most amazing childhood. I had no idea
My
that we were
gosh,
not
can
well
you
off.
stop talking about your rich parents?
Yeah. Well, okay. But anyway, my parents didn't have money to spend spend again to try to hand over the title to the church in Mexico after it was stolen, because they fundraised, I think, for that money and then it was gone. So I think they're working on it again because they want to hand the title for that land over to the church. But my dad said, okay, I have to actually take that money myself, go down, make sure the paperwork's all sorted out. So, if I die, the church actually gets to keep the Bible school and all the things that they've built for the last however many years. I think they actually bought the property when they were in their 20s. It was out in the middle of the desert, no water, no electricity, just like a nothing place. Like, it was so cheap that they could afford it. And then now it's like this booming little like Mexican tourist town that's like really cute, trendy, and they have power, water, all the things. So it was
Speaking
a good
of your
investment.
rich childhood,
Gosh.
how's the turmeric coming?
The turmeric?
Yeah.
Well, I had a meeting today.
Yeah.
The meeting was good. Like, I think every meeting that we have about it, I'm like an emotional roller coaster over it. Sometimes I'm like, I'm so inspired.
So weird, eh? Like we've had quite a few meetings, which is really good. Like we're just trying to map out the landscape right now.
Yeah.
We've established the three main areas of concern and areas that would need to be addressed. One of them being the supply of not just turmeric, I guess. Like we'd be looking at two separate crops, turmeric and cassava. And so one would be the supply, meaning, having farmers planting for us so we have a consistent supply. Second being the processing. So having the ability to accept A and B and C grade of each item. And then, the best stuff would obviously be put on shelves and the other stuff would be processed in dry form. So like turmeric would obviously be turned into turmeric powder that could be peeled, like put into like capsules or, for curries and whatever else they use it for. And then cassava could be turned into flour, gluten-free flour. And then the third thing is the market access. So finding a local market and finding an overseas market. And so, yeah, like these are the three areas that we feel need to be addressed. And so having meetings with those in mind has definitely helped. But it's a funny place, like, to have meetings because, you have a meeting with one organization and you have stories and, that have been printed about us in the newspaper. And then you have people who are like, oh, that organization and, the newspaper that printed you, like, they won't do a thing for you. Like, you got to work with us. And it's like, well, wait a sec. Like, you're here because of all the publicity that we got. So, and actually the meeting with that other organization was like super helpful. So I don't know who to talk to here. Like
the meeting I had today was like good and bad. I think the person I was speaking to was super knowledgeable and has some experience, especially in the ginger industry. But the one thing that was hard was like some of the advice that we've received from people that I felt were pretty knowledgeable about the space got like super dismissed and was like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. Like, don't even bother with them. And I was like, okay, it's kind of hard to justify like the advice I've been given, but I think from living here for 3 years, it resonated with me, the advice I had been given. And then the person I was meeting with today was like, no, that's junk. So it's interesting to like weigh your options between like the advice that you're given that's like, okay, okay. And then you're like, the advice that you're like, okay, yeah, that makes me feel like I could actually accomplish this. So like, that's
The
junk
great thing about
advice.
talking to critics is they make you poke holes in your theory,
Yeah.
which is really, really helpful before you do something.
Well, you want to
Anything.
prove that it's a good concept,
Hmm.
that the business will actually work, that people can make money, you can pay wages. The good thing is we probably have an investor that wants to jump on board with us, so we can make this possible. But we have to do our research before we we ask people, yeah, jump in with us. You know, like we don't want to take someone's money and make and like completely blow it. There's no guarantee in business,
Hmm.
but at the same time, you want to have the best chance possible.
Yeah.
So, I think it's been a unique experience. We've got a long ways to go in it, so we'll continue talking about it. We'll continue making like connections and meetings and get more information, but I think it's going to be a bit of a slow trudge. So, unfortunately, guys, don't think it's going to be a fast process. So, yeah.
Is it gonna be faster than your hair getting colored though? Oh my gosh.
Okay, so I went into the hair salon. If you haven't seen, my hair is blue. I wanted purple hair. So that's number one.
Oh my gosh.
I
Look
went
like
in at,
Mystique off of X-Men.
yeah, I went in at 9 a.m. and then I don't think they finished till 7. And I think half my hair fell out. I was like panicking. I was like, God, please let me leave the salon with hair.
You did look a little lightheaded.
Dude, I was so stressed all day. You don't
That was
even know.
that
Oh,
was a joke.
you don't know. You have no idea. They bleached my hair like 4 to 5 times.
Wow.
And like every time a little bit more was like falling off. And they kept being like, it's fine. We'll bleach it one more time. And at the end, I was like, no, you can't bleach it anymore. Like, just try dyeing it. I don't know how it's going to go. So
I
they
thought you were gonna
ran.
get your hair done, not chemotherapy.
Yeah, same thing. It was like, same. It was terrible. Same. Anyway, we got into like the purple color. And it was beautiful. It was like this purpley pink hue. And I loved it. And then he got like halfway through the bottle and there was no more. And then all of a sudden, without telling me, there's blue starting to be applied everywhere. And I could see it on his gloves. Like, I was like, that's no longer purple. And so I have blue hair with like a hue of purple in there somewhere. But it's fine. I'm fine. I was like, okay, I just look like our Waka truck. It's all good.
Oh, that's why you took a picture in front of the walker
Yeah,
truck today.
because I was like, look, I'm like our color, like our
I get
branding.
it.
I'm matching the Waka
I
family
get it.
hair. Oh my gosh. It was not on purpose, guys. I was going for purple, but now I'm the blue lady in Fiji. If I do not stick out as like a sore thumb in Mombasa already, now I have blue hair and I'm glowing white. So,
It's
yeah.
a great combo.
Keep an eye out for me. I'll just be the shining beacon of blue.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're really trying to fit in.
Yeah, I am. It's okay. Oh, the other thing cool today, I had a meeting with a guy and, well, a couple people that came into the shop. The guy that I was speaking to mostly, he has...
Just so you guys know, when she says a shop, we're talking about the sponsor of this podcast, which is Fresh Tea and Coffee. It's located halfway between Lambasa and Savu. It's our little coffee shop that we opened in October of 2022. It's probably the cheapest coffee in Fiji, the cheapest iced lattes. But I actually can guarantee you that it's going to be the best coffee you've ever had in Fiji. We promise you. We use Bula coffee, which is gathered from the hills of Nandronga and roasted to perfection. It's all local, and we love it. We love it, and everybody who comes into our shop loves it. So thank you to Fresh Tea and Coffee and us for sponsoring this podcast.
And us and Bula Coffee, you jerk. the main man in there.
As you were saying, you were having some meetings at the coffee shop.
Oh, okay, I'm like, I don't know what I was saying. Okay, so I was having some meetings at the coffee shop. I was at the office, and one of our staff called me and said, hey, could come over and meet these people, and they were lovely. But I was just kind of laughing to myself as I came in, because they were like, oh, we were hoping to meet Jonathan. And I'm like, classic. Sorry to
Classic.
disappoint. And I have blue hair, so we're on another level over here.
Sorry.
So we're...
I was busy being awesome.
Yeah, you were busy at a funeral.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was working. I was telling them, they said, oh, we love you guys because you really respect the Fijian culture. And I said, yeah, like, we really do try to do our best. And, John's dad is, he's strive to make sure that our family is respectful of the culture. And then I said, yeah, but we have to do things a little bit different. Like I'm, working today and the kids are at school and Jonathan's our representative in the village today. Well, I work because really I suck at being a Fijian woman and I'm not the best at chopping vegetables. My hands are weak and they're sore for a week. So I just John just sent me into town. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to work. But anyway, back to what they do. They're really cool guys, or this one individual was. He said that they translate the Bible into the bless you, John just sneezing in the background. They translate the Bible into individual dialects around Fiji. So normally the Bibles here are in Bowen, which is the main Fijian dialect, and then these gentlemen come around and they translate it into the individual dialects depending where you are on the island. So I thought that was really cool. I said, John can help you with that anyway.
Actually, does anybody know? And because I didn't grow up in Fiji doing school here, like, why Bowen is the dialect of Fiji? I know that somebody listening to this will know the answer and be like, oh, you're an idiot.
I think because it's easier. That's going to be from my outside perspective.
I think it has something to do with, like, the main people, like, the chiefly people in Fiji being from Bao.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Has to
I
be.
could be way off on that. But maybe we can find that answer out and answer it on the next podcast. So there's like Fiji's tiny country. Like, well, it's like 140 inhabited islands. I'd say there's got to be like 40 to 50 different dialects probably. But there's one main one that like everybody understands. And the dialects are all pretty close to each other except for a couple of provinces. So you can kind of make it out. But yeah, it's dialects are bizarre.
Wait,
we might have to edit that all out.
In Seaqaqa,
We'll
we have some friends, and bless their heart, they used to call it Seaqaqa. You live in Seaqaqa.
Seaqaqa is where our coffee shop is.
Yeah, I was like, I kept telling
just so everybody knows, it's called Seaqaqa, Seaqaqa, and Q in Fijian is ga, so Seaqaqa. Our friends thought it was Seaqaqa.
And I kept telling them, no, we live in Seaqaqa. And they had no idea where we lived for like a year until I was like, that little like town that's not a town that you just like pass through? And they're like, oh, Seaqaqa. I'm like, yeah, totally. Live there. Wow. I lived there. It's just like we have friends that own Vanua Valley Farms, which starts with a C. And when we moved here, I was like, oh, look, John, Kegu Valley Farms. See, it's Kegu. And he's like, no, honey, it's Vangu. And I was like, no, they're white. It's definitely Kegu. They don't know it's Vangu. They do know it's Vangu. They named it properly. It was just me being like racially profiling them. Be like, nope, they think it's Kegu. They have zero idea. They were just trying to be cool.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Great farm, by the way. They are, I would say, like the number one experts on this island about honey and bee.
I'd say the number one experts in the whole of Fiji, which would be the whole of the South Pacific.
For harvesting honey and like bee experts. They are so dedicated to their craft. They're a really interesting couple. They moved from Australia and they've adopted 2 children here. Their daughter is, I guess, originally Itoke and their son is Indo-Fijian. Mm-hmm. And just beautiful family. They really love God and they're just serving people in their community and they're just trying to make honest business. So if you ever need some help with your bees, hit them up at Kegu Valley Farms. Just kidding. Vangu Valley Farms. So yeah, lovely family.
See, how your language doesn't fit in?
Why? Come on, I'm trying over here.
How about? I wanted to talk about our kids not fitting in.
Are they the white Canadians that speak Fijian?
Yeah, because we get comments all the time and like our, your kids are like almost just like Fijian. It's like, well, yeah, I guess the thing is that like we are not like your typical, obviously stereotypical like Fijian family.
But you are
just
Fijian.
To be like honest about it. Yeah, I am.
And our children are actually Fijian citizens. Yeah. So what makes them not Fijian? That they're more white?
Uh, yeah, I think I mean, there's clearly, I mean, and obviously, like, things that make them not as Fijian as other kids, as
Totally.
other, like,
Yes,
purely
of
Fijian
course.
kids. And so,
Like I send them to school with peanut butter and jelly
well, I
sandwiches.
wouldn't say that has anything to do with it.
Today I sent them with roti parcels,
So there you
so
go. There you go. You're like they're like rich Fijian kids then.
ooh, PB&J.
Yeah.
I love this country because I can actually send peanut butter to school and nobody's getting angry at me. In Canada, they're like, how dare you send peanut butter? So,
It's an interesting thing, like, growing up, and I, like, wonder, like, what it's gonna be like for them. So I hope that we can instill enough, like, confidence in them, because it was definitely something that I struggled with, like, my whole growing up, I guess. Was like an identity kind of crisis. I don't know if I call it a crisis, but I was always very well liked everywhere I went. But I kind of decided, like, early on in my life. Sorry, this taking me so long to, like, formulate my thoughts, but I kind of decided early on in my life that my advantage was the fact that I didn't belong fully anywhere, which meant that I kind of belonged everywhere. Right? It's kind of like glass half empty, glass half full. So, like, the fact that I'm not, like, really Fijian, like a dark-skinned Fijian with, like, a full Fijian accent, can't go to the Middle East and look Middle Eastern. I can't. Go to Mexico, I look Mexican. Go to Italy, I look Italian. Go to Mongolia, I look Mongolian. You know, it's kind of like, I kind of like, people, like, see me and they're like, what is going on here? Like, you know?
yeah.
And so, not having that, sorry, just saw a mouse running across the ceiling.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry, it's outside. It's outside. It's outside.
Just don't jump on my head.
No,
That's
no,
all
no, it's
I
outside.
care about.
Welcome to Fiji. So yeah, not like fully fitting in allowed me kind of to, like, fit in everywhere.
Oh.
And so, yeah, I really hope that we can, like, establish that identity with our kids, like, not having to feel like you need other people's approval to fit in, because they'll never have it. They'll never have it.
No.
And it's not a Fiji thing. It's like I experienced it when I was in Canada.
Yeah, it's a worldwide
Yeah.
thing, for
Yeah.
sure.
And there's people that are going to try to fit them into boxes. The funny thing is, like, Leaky's brown skin like me, and Seb's really white skin like you.
Yeah.
And, like, that's just how it happened to happen. They got the same blood, but they look really, really different. And so, like, well, you know, the way the world's going with, like, you know, classification with colors and stuff like that, like, I'm sure there's going to be, like, a whole world that we're, like, not ready or haven't experienced that they're going to experience. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's interesting raising kids in the culture that isn't really like a melting pot. Like, Canada's, like, really, like, all cultures combine and come and call Canada home. And Fiji's very like this is Fiji. This is how we do it in Fiji. Like, I know, like,
Yeah.
there's, like, you know, organizations in Fiji that are like, you know, Fiji is like where happiness comes naturally or whatever. But it's also like Fiji's like very, this is how we do it in Fiji. Like, when you live where we live, this is like I was talking to my grandma the other day.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about, like, boiling fish, and she's like, most people don't know, but this is how you boil fish. This is how you don't add too much water. And then right at the end, I have a secret. And I squeeze this lemon in. And, like, this is how you add the salt. And she's like, most people don't know this, but this is how you boil fish. And so, like, we're like, oh, there's probably, like, 5-6 different ways to, like, boil a fish, steam a fish, or whatever you want to call it. But, like, for her, it's like, this is the way you boil fish. That's the way.
Yeah.
And most people don't know that way. So it's like super, like, you could think it's closed-minded, but luckily, like, I'm coming from a place where, like, I've had the opportunity to, like, see lots of parts of the world. I'm like, well, she's never had the opportunity to have her mind open, or, like, not have her mind open, because, like, the opening of the mind is actually just learning new things. So nobody ever taught her a different way to boil a fish.
And
That's
there's
the only way things
well,
she
and
knows.
there's no right or wrong. Like if it tastes good,
No,
it tastes good.
yeah, and it's actually, oh my gosh, there's nothing better when you come home from spearfishing and then like just like the carcass of the fish, just boiled with onions and ginger, put a little belly inside, and then just like have the soup.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, fish
I
soup.
I think my hope for our kids is not that they embrace one side or the other. I hope they just love all parts of themselves. Like,
Yeah.
the part that is Fijian and they speak the language and they fit in. I hope they love that. And
Mm.
I hope they love the fact that, they're born in Canada and they can go back there whenever they want to and they
Mm.
have family there. I hope they love that. And I hope
Mm.
they love that they had an amazing childhood with the freedom that they have and they can also go access whatever they want in Canada. I hope they love that. I think like we were speaking to friends last week and they were saying like they are both I think a quarter Chinese, like Fijian, Chinese, and Australian, and then her husband is I don't know Fijian Chinese or something.
Mm.
And both of them didn't love, or no, she loved the part of her that was Chinese, but he never did. And she said like she was like teaching him to love the part of him that's Chinese.
Mm.
And all of a sudden in the last few years, like he's in his 40s, like he's starting to embrace like, oh yeah, like I'm Chinese, like it's a beautiful culture. And it's like, yeah, it is. Like love that part of yourself. That's who you are. That's your blood. Like that's you.
Mm.
Like that's fine. There's actually no like good or bad. Like just love it. And like
Yeah.
it's unique. It's fun. It's exciting. You look different. You look beautiful. Like you're the way God made you. Enjoy it.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Should we go into our game?
Sure.
I think it's gonna be a short one tonight, guys. Here's our game, and here's the question: what have I helped you appreciate about yourself? So this is a game we play every week, and there's 3 levels. It's just a conversation starter that we use as a couple. So this is level 2, and because we finished all the level 1 questions actually, and all the level 1 questions are perception. So now we're on to connection. And this question is, what have I helped you appreciate about yourself?
So who's going first?
Well, obviously you, because I don't know what to say.
Okay.
What have you helped me appreciate about myself?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think actually, well, I don't know if I should talk about this publicly, but I kind of have this, I just don't really like the way that I look, I guess. Call it body dysmorphia or whatever.
Definitely.
So yeah, I think you're always been encouraging about like, the fact that I look okay or I look good, because I've always just, yeah, maybe man, I guess this probably connects with a lot of people probably, like just not naturally liking the way my voice sounds or like the way I look on camera, or yeah, like not realizing that like, oh, I didn't realize I looked that bad that day, feeling good about myself and then like seeing myself in like a reflection are like 2 different things. And I think when you have somebody who like is encouraging about that, like you look good, is empowering, I guess. I don't know.
And do you think
So your words matter for
do
sure.
you view yourself in a better way now than you did when you were young?
Well, I was actually talking with Tui, who's sitting behind the computer, busy.
Who is our
He's
content
he's so busy on
manager?
the producing right now.
He
It's
might be
like
falling asleep. It's late. Like, hey,
guys, you gotta keep in
bro,
mind it's like 10:15 at night
wake
here.
up.
So this is how we do, okay? In the Waka family house, trying to crush out this content for you guys, and well, we enjoy this. It's easy. It's easy to have a conversation, but yeah, where were we going with this?
I was asking you, how do you feel about yourself now that you're older versus when you were younger?
Oh, for sure. Like and that's what I was talking about too. It was because like we were talking about this the other day, and how relationships can like change the way that like you perceive yourself, or the confidence you then carry on, or the lack of confidence you carry out of a relationship, whether that relationship like continues or not. I mean, I guess if relationships end, then you might have like either or. Like you might have boosted your confidence or lost it. But like if your relationship's still going, chances are you've like been building your confidence up over time, which is what has happened to me. And but that being said, like I still struggle with that from time to time. And so when you say stuff, like it still is probably healthy for me.
Mm.
But yeah, like if something ever happened to you, like I would approach life probably a lot different, with like a lot more confidence than I did in the past, I
Yeah, and I
guess.
can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that you're a more confident man than I married. I think like it's interesting. Like my dad always told me, like, oh, when you're looking for a husband, like when you marry that person, they will always be the same person. Like men don't change that much. Like if they like,
Women though, oh my god.
yeah, we do change. Men, if they like gaming when they're young, they always like gaming. Or if like they're a big child at heart, they'll always be a child at heart. They just might not like jump off the high cliff or like make stupid decisions
Mm.
and not weigh the consequences, or they may grow in confidence, but they will typically be the same man. So don't marry a man and hope he changes. Marry the man because you like him and hope that he stays the same and maybe just gets wiser with age.
Insert mic drop here.
Boom. So ladies, if you're looking for a man, just remember that.
Right. So you're kind of avoiding the question. I get it, but I answered it, so I really would appreciate it if you could answer it.
Okay, well, I think we should stay on the same topic. I've got other things, but I think, like, for me, I think I've always been a very overly confident person. Like, my parents really.
So opposite of me.
What I have been. I've been a very confident person. My parents instilled a confidence in me when I was young that hasn't left, and I think I am a more naturally, like, boisterous human being. But I think, like, I always, okay, this sounds so vain. I always thought I was decent looking when I was young. Like, I was like, never worried about my looks. But I definitely had weird insecurities. Like, I always thought I was, like, overweight. When I was really skinny when I was young, like, I was, like, jacked. I don't know what I was worried about. And then after having 2 kids, well, a little chubby, which I'm actually more, this sounds so messed up, but, like, I'm more confident in myself and I'm more comfortable with my body now, even though it's like worse looking than I was when I was young. I think like that has to be attributed to you and just age and just like feeling okay. Like even when I've
So
gained.
what? Oh, go ahead.
No, ask.
No, so like what at the same time like makes you want to be like, okay, I want to like be like get healthy and like lose weight.
I think because I know life is just easier with less weight.
Oh, okay.
I
See.
think life is easier. I think I know that health wise, having extra weight is not healthy. I think. And also, there's like a really best of like selfish thing. I love shopping, and not everything doesn't fit as well when you're a little chubby.
Right.
Like clothing just fit. Like clothing, especially overseas, is like meant for a skinny person.
Right.
So it's just easier to go shopping and buy beautiful things, and it's fun. It's fun to look nice in things.
Right.
So I think like that's just like kind of like the selfish motivation of like, yeah, that would be nice to be able to just like go in and buy something and it look as good as it used to look. And I think like most mothers can kind of relate. Like you have kids and your body like stretches and even your bones move and you're like, well, it'll never be the same, but probably could be a little bit better. But I think like it's great if you have had kids or you've gained weight or whatever that you can just go, I still look good. I still feel good. It's fine. And like you should. I'm not like a body positivity person that's like it's great to be overweight in the sense of like
like
I think it's great to be healthy. So whatever that
like
weight,
Lizzo,
what?
it's too much.
Okay, shh. I don't really care. Whatever that weight is that you're healthy at, I think that's what matters. Whatever you're comfortable at, whatever you're healthy at, because getting sick because you're overweight, that's not great. So I don't really care what that looks like because everybody's bodies are different. We're all different boned. That can look very different from one person to the other. Like my mother, she's almost 6
but there's also
feet.
levels to it. There's obviously obese men out
Of
there.
course.
Like
Beer
you can't
belly.
be like, oh, if you feel good, then you are good. It's
No,
like,
I'm just saying like if you're healthy, you don't have to be like Gymshark in there every single day. I think
obviously.
like healthy is kind of relative to your body type.
To a certain point.
To a certain point.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I don't really want to get into it because I think it's just like too controversial.
Oh my gosh.
do.
Oh, somebody's afraid of opinions.
No, I'm not. Maybe on the podcast I don't want to get into that sensitive subject.
Oh
I just
my
think
gosh. Why podcast then? You know, right?
okay. Well, I just
Say
think being
what you
healthy
need
is
to
great.
say.
So I think for me, I would like to lose weight because I would like to be more healthy, and it's not even because of me because I'm actually comfortable in my body. I would say actually that's a lie. I would like to lose a little bit of weight and I'd be more comfortable. I would like to lose a decent amount of weight because I want to make sure when my kids are 15 that if they want to go skiing or surfing or whatever they want, that I have enough muscle mass and like enough fitness that I can just like go with them and like still like rock it out. So yeah, I think that would be the thing. Anyway, I think we're going to wrap up. It's late. We're all tired. Yawning is going to start happening.
We
Pizza's
love you
coming to
guys.
Seaqaqa soon. We love you guys. Probably at the end of the month. Have a good week.
Peace.